Welcome everyone to week number 4 in Science 214. This is the midpoint in our term when we get finished with this week. So we have made it this far, which is awesome. This week is all about data and trends, and we will talk about that as we go along in my discussion here today. This is also Memorial Day weekend, and so we want to take a minute to remember those who have served in the military and have passed on, or they have served in some other capacity and they have passed on in the quest to keep us a free nation. So I hope that you have some type of remembrance tomorrow for these people. I know my father and my father-in-law both served in the military and have passed on, so they were both veterans. So I hope that you have some type of remembrance for tomorrow. All right, so this week, let me move my face over. Don't know why I'm sitting there in the middle of the words. This week we have discussion board postings that are due. You have these due every week except week 7, I think, as I remember. Your initial post is all about data trends, and so you're going to choose an issue. It can be your project that you've been working on. That's perfectly fine. You don't have to look up new stuff. But if you want to, there are lots of interesting things out there that you can look up, and use this resource in your list of resources. It's called Sage Data, and it's basically a database of all different types of data and what the trends say. So this is cool. You can look at social issues, and some that they suggest for you are fertility rates. Birth rates are good. That's very interesting in countries around the world. But also things like climate change and pollution rates and all sorts of things like that. So you pick an issue, and then you're going to look at the data trends. This is very easy to do in Sage Data, so I do suggest that you use that. So first thing, why did you identify this trend? First of all, what is the issue that you're looking at? Be sure and explain that to your reader. And why did you identify this? Why is this important? Who cares, right? Yeah, that's very important. Is this a positive, negative, or stable trend? This is really important to look at with data. So data is just numbers, right? And we always try to collect numbers in science. And then we look at those numbers. A lot of people want to slap data into tables. All right, that is really not very effective unless you have just a few numbers. What you want to do is graph your data, because when you graph the data, then you can come to conclusions about the relationships in the data points that are there, right? And that's what we're looking at here. Is there a positive trend? I can't get this in front. There you go. A positive trend, whereas the independent variable increases, then the dependent variable increases. That's a positive trend. Like with climate change, as time goes by, the average world temperature is going up. That's a positive trend. And that, of course, though it's a positive trend, is not a good thing. The negative trend is going the opposite direction, right? That would be birth rates in first world countries. Birth rates are going down. Or is it a stable trend, and that's just a horizontal line? There may be fluctuations in it, of course, but it's basically a horizontal line where there's not much change over whatever the independent variable is, like change. What are the patterns and themes in the data? So what does this suggest to you when you look at these data? What is this telling you, in other words? All right, and remember that initial post is due by Thursday evening. Your 2 response posts that are due by Sunday evening are all about your peers' data and what their issue is. And so you want to find the significance of this trend. Why is this important? What is this showing you? How do the variables relate to each other? And what are the potential implications of this trend? So what does the future look like having to do with this particular issue? That's what it's asking you. Potential implications. What does the future hold? So those are your discussion board postings. Then, here I go moving my face again. There you go. You have your Module 4 project draft. So this is a big part of your project right here this week. Okay? This is what you're going to be working on. I'm just going to hit the high points. And basically what I've done is bolded and underlined the important phrases here. Provide a brief description of your issue. Yep, you got to go back and do this because you got to even remind yourself what your issue is and how this impacts equity in your community for different populations. Describe your issue. How are some populations disproportionately impacted by this? Yep, and it can be any population, of course. What are the main points of the data after you've done your research? So you've already analyzed your data because you chose your sources. By the way, you do not have to stick with 3 sources. You can have more sources than that. And a lot of you probably should, because a few of you had some sources that weren't very good. They weren't even credible. So add sources if you need to, take away sources, whatever you need to do. What are the main points of the research? And what do the methods, figures, and conclusions tell you about this particular topic? What is it that you pull away? What message do you pull away from this reference? So you are going to be talking about your sources in this section. You're going to refer back to them. Smith suggested that blah, 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 right? So you're going to refer back to your sources. Determine the validity of the data. Is it current and is it accurate? Now, do not look for sources just from 2025. If you're doing scientific research, you're doing research over years, and then you have to write it up, and that takes time, and then you have to get it sent in somewhere, and your peers have to review it, and it has to be corrected, and then it has to be published. Okay, this takes a while. So don't just look for 2025 articles. This can be in the recent past. I would say like in the last 10 years. If you're looking at climate change and you're going back to the 1960s, that wasn't even a topic on our radar back in the 1960s. But if it's in the last 10 years, yes, absolutely. So how current and accurate? Not just 2025, okay? Describe the trends in the data. So what do the data tell us about this topic? Is this a positive trend, a negative trend, a stable trend? Are there different trends that you see in the data? So be sure and look at the graphs and figure out what they mean in your sources. Describe relationships. So what are the connections between the variables that have been used in these particular experiments? And what are the trends and patterns in the data? Because this is going to tell you what's happening, what you predict to happen in the future. Terribly important. Okay, so that is the project module 4 project draft. Be sure to use the template. We have a template. Most everybody is, but some of you are not. Go back and find that template because that's important, and make sure that you cover everything. And my tips of the week, because this is kind of a lot of work this week, week 4. Week 4 and week 5. There will be a lot of work. Let me move my face again. There we go. Break up your work into manageable pieces, right? So give yourself something to do every day, or give yourself tasks to do when you have a 15-minute break, or when you're on your lunch hour and you're sitting there and you could just scroll through TikTok videos. I'm just saying there might be other people who can relate to that. But anyway, if you got 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, have yourself little bits of work that you can do during those time periods so that you don't wait until Sunday night to try to cram everything in. Break your work into manageable pieces. And that is especially true for this Module 4 project that you're working on. You can take each little section and work on that and then go back to it as you have time. Remind yourself that you can do this. no matter what other messages you are getting out there in the world. And boy, did I have them coming in my ears when I was in school, including some very important people in my life. Yeah. Why are you doing this? Why are you going back to school? Yeah. Remind yourself that you can do this. You've done it this far. You can keep going. All you need to do is take it one step at the time. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't get overloaded. Just think, one step at a time, one course at a time. You can do this. The other thing, don't get overwhelmed by the feeling, there is so much for me to do to earn this degree. No, one assignment at a time, one course at a time, one term at a time, and you can do it. Remember that you are just deciding how to spend your time, right? Because otherwise you would be doing something else with your time. So by spending your time getting your education, you will make your life better in the end. I promise you, it sure did for me. Just remind yourself you can do this, because I see that you can do it one step at a time. If you're having any issues, if you're going through anything, if you're having some health issues, family issues, financial, whatever, and you need some more time, you need help with something, please let me know. Dr. Janie Sigmon, m.sigmon at snhu.edu. I'm here for you. I will be glad to work with you on anything. Just let me know. All right, with that being said, I hope that you have a very nice Memorial Day weekend, and we'll be talking again soon.